What's up, everyone? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron, and today we're checking out the new album, But Here We Are, by the band The Foo Fighters. And for those of you who were born yesterday, they are an alternative rock band from Seattle, Washington, started in 1994, and this is their 11th studio album. It is also their first album to be released after the tragic passing of their drummer, Taylor Hawkins. Therefore, Dave Grohl is playing the drums on this entire thing, and it's absolutely amazing to just hear him back in his natural habitat. They do have a replacement drummer who is Josh Freese, and he will be taking over on all their tour stuff. But I was pretty excited to hear what this album was going to offer in terms of just everything that's happened to the Foo Fighters since their last release, and also because I love Dave Grohl as a drummer. He's just a fantastic person all around. So yeah, I wanted to hear what he was going to lay down for us. The album opens up with the song Rescued, which is about trying to move on and just feeling like Dave Grohl has basically died and he needs to be rescued after this tragedy happened. This whole album is basically inspired by the passing of Taylor Hawkins and just the feelings that they had to go through. The verses touch on how sudden this happened, and the pre-chorus is a really good build into the chorus. It's basically calling on everybody who has gone through any type of tragedy in their life. And then we have the song Under to You, which continues this kind of story of recovery and how difficult things have been, how difficult life has been after the passing of Taylor. The music in the verse reminds me a lot of like old school Foo Fighters. I don't really care too much for the vocal melodies throughout it, though. I like the lyrics in the chorus is explaining just overall depression really well. Verse 2 is also very touching. The lyrics between these two songs really match up well, and they tell a good story. Nothing at All continues this healing process as they're trying to learn how to live without getting a loved one back, even though they really want them back, and just accepting that that isn't going to happen. It has a really groovy rhythm in the verse. I'm not really a fan of the vocal effect throughout this entire song, but I did enjoy the evolution of the music as it's leading to the chorus. It's just full of frustration. You could just really feel it. And before that, we have the song The Glass, which has, again, more of a vintage Foo Fighters sound to it. It's, I don't know, the metaphor is basically Dave saying that there's something as fragile as a sheet of glass between him and Taylor and other loved ones, and he's viewing himself as he's on this side of the glass. He can close his eyes and he can see him and he can imagine him, but he can't hear him or touch him because it's like a sheet of glass between them. It reminds me a little bit of February Stars, mainly in the melody and the rhythm in the chorus, but it doesn't compete with it otherwise musically or even song structurally. It's simple and catchy, but I found this song to be kind of forgettable. In multiple listens, every time I came across it, it took me a second to really remember what it was. Hearing Voices kind of continues the same thought of The Glass. He wants to be able to hear Taylor's voice again or even other loved ones' voices again after they passed, but it's just something, again, he has to come to terms with. It isn't going to happen. And this has a shoegaze kind of quality to the guitar and the verses. The refrain, or I guess you could call it the post-chorus, is kind of like the main hook in the song, while the chorus is more simplified, and it can become kind of repetitive as it's repeated 3 times throughout the song. It only has 2 different lines in it that they just repeat over and over and over again. And then we have my favorite song on this album, which is the title track, But Here We Are. It's about dealing with your current situation and believing that everything's going to be okay and not really avoiding it. Verse 1 talks about putting away distractions. It has a really gritty, staticky kind of guitar progression through it. The pre-chorus is about learning how to accept your situation for what it is, while the chorus explodes, which is a lot of passion as I feel like you're coming to terms with it. And there's just not really a whole lot of variety throughout this song, musically or lyrically, but the instrumental in it is absolutely fantastic. And the things that they do on this album make it the high point. Sure, it doesn't have a whole lot of different stuff going on, but it just hits just right. And for me, coming in around halfway point, it really helped level this album out a little bit more after the first 3 songs, which are kind of anthemy in nature. Show Me How is another shoegaze piece where Dave is now singing with his daughter Violet. Their harmonies sound fantastic. The verse has some of the best lyrics on this entire album, where the chorus just kind of fell flat for me, especially since the choruses continue to get longer as the song goes on, but they don't really add anything to it. They just repeat it more times. I wasn't really feeling it that much, but this song has some really strong metaphors in it. It's basically about somebody in your life is eventually going to pass away. They won't be here anymore, and you're going to be left to continue life without them. And it goes to the point to where Dave drops out in the outro. So it's just Violet singing by herself, pointing to eventually Dave will no longer be in her life and she will be left to continue it without him. And it's actually really touching. It gets super deep. And then we have the song Beyond Me, which is about the pain of losing someone and just how it's so unimaginable until it happens. I mean, you can't fathom how hard it would be to lose a best friend or a family member. It's just so overwhelming. It's got a really slow and intimate verse. The chorus is big chords as Dave is basically saying that Taylor's death and his ability to understand it and the pain he felt and just everything all around it is beyond him. He just can't understand it. The song really comes to life after the second pre-chorus, so it kind of feels like it's a slower song, but then it builds up more and more. And then we have the longest song on this album, The Teacher, which is about Dave's mom, who was a teacher and recently passed away. And to me, I feel like this song is about how she wasn't able to teach him how to deal with grief. It's something she wasn't able to until she passed away, which is another lesson that he had to learn through her. It's kind of touching, but also very sad in a way. It has an Everlong kind of guitar feel to it, whispered vocals, up to verse 2, which then explodes. The refrain has tons of metaphors in it that basically are saying, like, Dave's wondering who's going to come into his life next, but at the same time, who is going to leave next? It's very light and also dark at the same time. It switches gears. It feels like a completely different song, though, about halfway through. It's probably the most vulnerable song on this album, which says a lot because most of these songs are pretty heartfelt. They're wearing their emotions on their sleeve here. But this one, Dave he doesn't hold back on his thoughts. He's very open, very honest, very real about just everything he's been going through, especially in the bridge. It's very heartfelt, but this being a 10-minute long song, after it switches gears, since it feels like another song, it just really makes you feel how long this thing really is. And that brings us to the closing track, Rest, which is basically like an ode to all the loved ones that the band members have lost over the years. It's got a haunting guitar and vocals. The chorus is very melancholic, yet also fairly peaceful, until about the second time around, where this wall of sound that's just super staticky and kind of blinding in a way just hits you right in the face as it goes into the second chorus. It's, again, twice as long. It's a great closing track that deals with the themes of this album and their journey of healing, and I really enjoyed it quite a bit. This album does a great job at going through this band's healing process. They touch on grief, denial, acceptance, even at times kind of bargaining in a sense of just having frustration. The music does have some throwback moments. I can hear some of the earlier work throughout most of these songs. The solos were great as well, which is something you guys don't really hear me say that much, but I don't know, I really enjoy them. And the instrumentals throughout it were fantastic. The drums had some shining moments. The production on this thing, it was kind of dark, but it let the jingly guitar kind of stuff shine through a little more. It made the happier moments feel a little bit happier, specifically in the melodies and such. Probably why I did enjoy the guitar solos more than I thought I would. The one thing I really didn't care about this album that much would be the songwriting. It was very formulaic most times. Sure, there's some songs that are kind of outside of the Foo Fighters kind of natural thing that they do, but they were mostly just like a slowed verse, a bare bones style kind of chorus where it's just, you know, this tiny little guitar riff that you can barely hear, whispered vocals, and then the chorus comes along, there's just a tiny little drum beat, and then all of a sudden verse 2 of the song comes to life. And it was just too much of that over and over and over again. It happens probably, I'd say, on more than half of the songs on this album. The choruses also felt very lacking to me as well, as there just wasn't really a whole lot of substance to them. And when they wanted to add more substance to it, they just repeated the chorus multiple times, which made it even worse for me because a lot of times the choruses were just 1 or 2 lines, or maybe not 1 line, but 2 to 3 lines. And then when you just repeat those over and over again, it just, I don't know, it failed at having a good hook for me. It kind of made me just wish it would be over and get back to the verses, which felt like the whole meat of this entire album, where they dive into this thing, man. Like they dive into the pain that they were feeling, the hurt. It's not superficial whatsoever, which is what I enjoyed the most about this album. So with all that said, I got to give But Here We Are a 7.1 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. I think this might be one of the Foo Fighters' best albums in recent years. Since at least the late 2010s. I'd be willing to say I enjoyed it a lot more than the last album. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you would rate it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. If you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. And if you do want to continue seeing my videos, I encourage you even more to give this video a like, because YouTube won't put me in your recommended videos unless you watch a lot or if you interact with some of my videos. And liking it is the easiest way to do that. And I just thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me sit here and talk about music. I appreciate you guys more than you could ever imagine. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you have me watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time. I was